So you
Wow.
just kind of run into it.
You lost me at Lamborghini
It's a
Pinto.
it's a car. It goes slow. I think about it that way.
Gotcha.
Think of it
So,
like the difference between when recording music with using a good mic and a bad mic.
okay.
It-
Record slower.
yes, yes. Sing that same note, but extend it for an hour rather than a second, and then maybe then it'll work. And then half the time it doesn't record it, and you keep on running into issues because the soundboard, it's all faulty, and half the time like it doesn't actually record, and the record button's faulty, and so like it'll switch on and off all the time, and you just run into like issues because half the people that you work with are, tone deaf, and so they sing out of key, and so you're trying to go and mix up this record, and nothing else is working right, and all these sound bits you're
Oh.
recording, you keep on running out of space, and so you have to keep on, recording maybe about half a song or half a track, and then push it on over into like an external drive so that you record half of it later, and then when you actually go and listen to it later, when you migrate it over to another computer that has enough power, and you run into an issue where it's half a step off when it comes to like the sound quality, as well as like the notes are all half a step off, and you got to go and work on that, and you got to work some sound booth logic and shit. You're like, what the fuck is going on? This is retarded.
Wow. You did good. That was good. I
does
like
it
that.
does it remind you of all your hours of woes?
No, I mean, most of those things are resolved with digital software and with split if ins and outs or firewires and ports and stuff like that. But
But it's so old it
and
doesn't
and
have
syncing,
firewires. It doesn't have any of that. None of that stuff
syncing and stuff
exists.
like that.
You can't do any of that stuff. You have to do it all manually.
But
You have to
even then, if
record it
you're
all
dealing
to
with a raw, if you're
what?
dealing with a raw signal, it's even more simple. I used to record to a tape, like because you could record. I think it was like 4 channels onto a tape because you could record two on the front, left, right, and then when you ran the tape backwards, you could record two other channels. So it was left and right also. Um, but you could use each one as left and right because they don't record left right. They record mono. So you could do
Left mono, right mono. So
yeah.
you have the ability for stereo, but that means you can have two mono tracks.
But when you're recording on something like that, the more simple you get, the less issues you run into because it is, I mean, the signal is what it is. But it's funny that you're trying to relate to an audio thing because I can tell by the issues that you raise how much audio experience you have. And like in practical recording purposes, like music, those issues aren't a lot of those issues aren't issues. The syncing issue sometimes when your stuff is out, when your clocks are mismatched or things like that, but that's all technical
Well, I'm not saying like along
nonsense.
the lines of we're like making it from 120 beats a minute to like 80 beats a minute or something like that. I'm saying more along the lines of like it's just all jacked up. Like it goes from 80 to 120 down to 40 to up to 60. Like it's not like
Yeah,
it's a steady 120 and you got to convert it to 80. It's
yeah.
like it's all over the place. You're like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
That's funny. That just your issues are very funny to me.
Kind of like, have you
As,
ever?
as is most things that you bring up. So this is
No,
an
okay.
ongoing thing with us. I think your
Uh,
issues are hilarious.
just the shit you got to deal with. But I mean, there's ways to make money off of it, but it's based off of volume. And right now, I don't really have the volume, so it's kind of running at a loss. But I don't know, whatever. It's a learning situation. I kind of figured that I'd be taking a loss for a bit, so hopefully it turns on out, as well as working with some good people. So that always works out and makes it a lot nicer.
I'm
And
excited for you on that. Sounds like I mean a lot of things that people. My friend was telling me about a book. I think it was called The Outsiders. I think I'll remember the. I think I'll remember the name of the book as I'm talking about it. It might be The Outsiders. I thought it was something else, but he was talking about that. Basically, there was a formula. There was a idea that a guy came up with. I'm so vague that
there
basically
was this
said
thing that happened in this one place at this one time, and it was awesome.
yeah, I
It
think
was
I think
amazing.
he said once you log 2,000 hours doing something that you basically guarantee success in it. So if you wanted to do website development, once you clock those 2,000 hours of specifically website developing, then you find success. Before that or then, but that's kind of the defining point. So if you wanted to be a um, so if you wanted to be a professional aerobics instructor or something, once you've done it for 2,000 hours, by the time you've completed that, you are successfully, like, you have a job and or career in doing that and making money doing that because you have reached that echelon of effort. So once I heard that concept, I've actually heard a lot of stories like yours, which are, I put a lot of time into this and we're just kind of rolling the dice as far as um, a lot of projects that could or could not turn out. Um, but it's that time investment, and then the time investment turns into opportunities. And I'm sure that that's going to turn into a great thing for you. Have you
Well,
reached your 2,000 hours yet?
with what, web development?
Yeah,
Yeah,
specifically.
yeah. I think I passed that a long time ago.
There you go.
But I mean, that's just that's its own thing. I mean, that's I've spent so much time on so many various things for so many various purposes. The thing is that I rather than going to get paid up front, I'd rather go and try to become like partnered with it. God damn it! Is there another one? Go, hey, go kill, go destroy.
It's me again.
It's you. Go destroy. There's another asshole spider out there.
I'm gonna make him my bitch.
So I mean, it's yeah. I can understand that. It's more the idea of like practice makes perfect, and you can't instantly expect there to be good at something without actually investing some time with it and working on it. So there's definitely that. I mean, anything computer related, it's always about like repetition, about trying it on out, debugging it. If you get it the first time, then you got real lucky, and without going and
Yeah.
running into issues over and over and over again, and just having a shitty time over and over and over again, you don't really get the full experience. Not until you run into a deadline and something's not working, and then you have clients which are pissed at you that they're like, "Oh, we need this done yesterday," and you're like, "Well, you only gave me half a day to do it, and that was like an hour ago." And like, "Wow, well, we need it now." Only then,
Yeah.
when you get some hardcore deadlines at all times, and they act like you're a complete dickhole for not getting it done fast enough, are you able to really pull shit on out of nowhere? They
You
usually
start to
say,
earn your keep.
well, they also I've read a lot of different studies which go and show that like being under stress and being under like under the wire and being forced to do things like faster than you normally would without really getting a chance to you know putz around, and it's you have to go and pretty much work your ass off. Is that really that's when you actually have your time to shine? You kind of just think past all the bull crap. You think past, oh, I'm gonna have time to do it, or how am I gonna do this the most efficiently? You just like, I just need to get it done, and you're able to pull shit out of your pull out of your ass and get it working. So I've seen that
Just
happen a
previous
couple times.
experience and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, just based off of other things that I've had to work with, where I'm like, I need to get it done. I don't have the 40 hours that's necessary. Even if I did, the client's definitely not going to pay me for the 40 hours to go and get it done. So I need to just I just need to do it, and I just sit down and I think for maybe about 15, 20 minutes on the best way to do it and just implement it, and then it's good to go.
Yeah, get balls deep in that thing.
Yeah. I mean, once you run into that so many times, you get a much better idea of exactly how long stuff takes, and then as well as how long it's going to take you, which is how, you're able to charge obscene amounts of money. Just like, look, it's going to take another developer 10 hours to do it. I can do it in 1 to 3, possibly. If
Mhm.
everything goes right, like 1 to 3 hours, and I can get it done, as well as if there's an issue that arises, I can fix it. Or you have an offshore developer that does it, and then most likely he's going to do it wrong, and then I got to go and fucking fix it anyways. And then you're essentially paying him, and then you're paying me, and then I got to go and fix his mistakes. And then you're all pissed off because you ended up paying just as much to begin with, and it's done shoddily, and you're unhappy with it. I mean, you always run into that type of stuff all the time.
Yeah, people are weird and people are trying to make money. You definitely have something that uh, is a skill that people will pay that kind of money for. So why not take advantage of it? I was actually in the same vein of the ultra books and whatnot. Let's play a little game.
Okay.
I have a projection of time frames for certain technology to be developed by, and you can tell me within the next, what is this, 9 years, 8 years, within the next 8 years when you think this will be available by.
All right.
Ready?
First of all, what time is it?
9:41.
Okay, we have time.
All right. Sunscreen pill. This is a pill that you would be able to take, and then you wouldn't have to apply sunscreen. Just
5 years.
it'll radiate to your skin. So
4 to 5 years.
5 years. Um, 5 years would be 2017. And
I'm gonna
well,
guess
what's your answer?
2016.
What's your answer?
2016.
2016.
So
You
four
are
years.
right on the money, sir. Within 4 years, sunscreen pill. Uh, interestingly enough, that same year, but I can go along with that in a
Well,
minute.
I mean, like think about it. Like think about you going and eating. Well, we have someone in this house which likes to make and loves using fish sauce, and that stuff just you take it and it exudes out of your skin. If you can take a pill that has that same quality and then make like exudes out of your skin, you're applying the sunscreen out of your skin. Although I'm not exactly sure how it's going to seep out of your pores that way, but you've had stuff like that. Like if you drink too much beer and then you smell like beer because it comes out of your pores, that's pretty cool. I'm not. They have to attach that to something, but
Yeah, and they should actually put a lotion thing in that as well, because then you could make sure your skin is
what
moisturized.
if all it is? It's just capsules with suntan lotion in it,
You just
and then
digest
and
it.
then you take it, and then your body's like, "Fuck this shit, I don't want this," and then it's all oily to begin with, so it just comes out of your pores that way. So it's probably just a
Sunscreen.
soluble, like an eatable suntan lotion that when is it's oily, and so your body exudes it by trying to get rid of it, which
Yeah,
means you're
I
gonna have
wouldn't be surprised.
you're gonna have suntan lotion on your ass crack, dude.
If I was the first to, if I was the first to think of that, then I would definitely patent it and definitely sell it by 2016, maybe sooner. Let's see. First zero carbon sustainable city. Talking about
Uh,
all renewable energy, a whole city. They're saying that over 50,000 houses, homes, families would be sustainable.
am I able to ask any questions at all?
Sure.
Uh, do they already have a prototype?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, then I'm gonna say 2018.
2018. You're a few years off the mark. It's actually going to be before the sunscreen pill. They're saying that by 2015, the first zero carbon sustainable city is going to be in. Actually, let me see where the.
See, the problem is that they might already have a bunch of houses, like they might already be building it, and so they might be like halfway done with it already. So that's why I was asking whether or not they had a prototype.
Masdar city, initially completed just outside of Abu Dhabi. The city will derive power solely from solar and other renewable resources, offer homes to more than 50,000 people. Hearing that made me actually think for just a second about uh, moving over there. I would have 3 years to relocate.
Yeah,
That
it's
would be
probably not going to
cool.
work out nearly as nicely as you think. As well as what is that? They're going to be using what solar panels?
Solar and other renewable. Yeah.
'Cause solar panels are actually really terrible too.
The efficiency is an issue right now, but I'm assuming that with the way that technology is progressing. Also, I saw a chevron, one of the nicest chevrons that I've ever seen. Me and Jennifer call it the fancy gas station, but the whole top of the gas pumps is all covered in solar panels, and I don't know if I don't. I think we read something inside that said that they made like 60% of their energy off of those solar panels alone. So I don't know.
But
Maybe the technology is progressing even as we speak to a more realistic level.
well, at least last time I went and I read about this and got some information, I've always heard that solar panels, the amount of energy that solar panels create, like let's say they're put out in the desert and they get as much energy as possible,
Right.
the amount of pollution that's created with it that they essentially in order to make the solar panel it creates a lot of pollution, just the actual aspect of creating it
The
creates
waste in
pollution.
manufacturing the panels and the cells and the connections and the whatever
Yeah,
circuitry and
like the
stuff.
byproduct of creating the solar panel is incredibly hazardous, and like to make the same amount of energy using coal is actually less terrible on the society or whatever the planet as a whole than creating the solar panels. Like people, they love this idea of using solar panels, but it's incredibly toxic. and the byproducts are like, you can't actually get rid of it. Like it's absolutely terrible for the environment, and it actually ends up being worse for the environment overall. And so people think that they're being, very, very healthy and good by using solar panels, but they're incredibly toxic. So
Wow.
like it's the
There's
amount of, and also the amount of energy that it goes into creating it. The solar panel is never actually able to replenish that. So like let's say it took 100 energy to make the solar panel over its life would only create 75 energy. So they actually makes it at a loss. Well,
oh,
the solar panel.
I'm not sure what studies you've been looking at, but if that was true, then solar energy is not the way to go.
No, no.
I think there's other aspects to it, and I think that the efficiency with certain ones may be what you're talking about, and the type of materials that they use and the type of processes it goes through. But my understanding, my limited understanding, is that there are ways to produce and um, use solar panels in a way that there are currently structures that are not only saving money but are making a positive impact on the earth in, not even taking into consideration what it took to make and install those panels.
Well, this is like, this is like a couple of years ago. This is like 2006, and I read about that. I was
Gotcha.
still working over at aerospace. It might be different now. They might have found a better way to do it, or you may make it a more efficient solar panel. But at least at that point, like the whole idea of a solar panel was, it was very hippie-esque, and people were like, oh, it's going to save it. But like, if that was the case, let's say it's more like kind of like the whole fusion energy idea. If the amount of resources it took to make a solar panel was 100 and it generated 200 energy, then you'd see it all over the damn place because it would just be so much more efficient and so much better off. But like you don't see it as well as it's very expensive to make. So hopefully that works out awesome, and that kind of makes it so that everyone starts making use of that idea because we're not getting less people in the world, we're getting a shit ton more. So yeah, they're saying like the
Yeah,
next 20, 30 years, like our way of life is going to be radically different just based off of running out of resources and running out of this and running out of like fresh meat and shit like that. I think they
yeah,
said
it's
like
gonna
in
be crazy.
2030, like you won't be able to get a steak anymore.
Really,
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
steak.
yeah. Like the fresh meat, the meat that we take for granted, like hamburger meat, like it's all gonna be made out of like bugs and shit. Or getting a
Is that
hamburger.
because they don't want to make cows anymore, or we just won't have cows?
No, we'll have cows. There's gonna be more people than we're like able to sustain it. So like
Oh
the amount
wow.
of food that it takes to go and feed a cow, as well as the amount of people that are gonna want to eat the cow, it's gonna make it so it doesn't work out that well.
It would be more. It would be more possible to feed us the cow food than to raise cows.
Yeah, it'll just become so expensive that pretty much, you know, companies won't be doing it. Like you could still probably get a cow and you could probably still, kill the shit out of it and make a nice tasty steak. But for the point, like for the masses, like if you want to go like for fast food, it's like that meat's not going to be cow meat anymore. It's not going to be based off of that. It's going to be based off of they're saying bugs.
Wow. To your point, a double-edged sword to that is, um, as long as it tastes good, I don't care. If it
Yeah,
tastes like steak, I wouldn't give a shit if it was real steak or not.
I
But
wouldn't be surprised if they found
also,
out some good ways to make shit taste good, as well as all the flavor enhancers that we'll probably have by that time. But I'm just letting you know that based off of like studies and the way that human population is growing at such a hugely disgusting rate, that probably our style of life now and our style of life in 20 years is going to be radically different.
yeah, we're probably really close to that now because I would imagine that the amount of actual meat in a Carl's Jr. hamburger is pretty low.
Yeah, well, what would they say that for Taco Bell meat, like the surprise Taco Bell meat that they have? Like it has like ground up mealworms or something like that to like help with the meat
Oh,
for
nice.
protein. And that was like years ago that they went and they did that study and they found out like a large portion of it was like a mealworm or something like that, like ground
Would
up grubs or some shit.
Would you have a problem knowing that?
I know that and I still eat it. I'm like whatever. it,
Yeah.
it tastes fucking good, but I know a ton of people. Like well, once again, you and I are pretty adventuresome when it comes to eating shit. Like for the most part, I don't really care. I'll eat a lot of weird, crazy crap. Like I'll eat tongue. I haven't tried cabeza, but I wouldn't mind eating cabeza. And half the Thai food and half the like shit that I eat when I go to eat pho, that's not normal stuff that people eat. Tons of people don't eat tripe. Tons of people
Oh
don't eat
yeah.
like people are disgusted by stomach lining. I'm like, ah, shit's fucking pretty tasty.
Yeah, tripe is good, bro. But they're saying, I mean, along the lines of what was that movie that they're saying that the future they were like we water our plants with electrolytes. What was that movie?
Oh,
Idiocracy.
yeah, it's Idiocracy.
Along the lines of that, we don't really know the side effects of the types of foods and the types of devices or the types of whatever that we're using now are, anyways, because I mean, even the FDA, not the food and agriculture, something like that. Even whoever's responsible for moderating the food wouldn't know the side effects of eating a certain amount of certain types of worms, percentages, or certain types of flavorings. You know, 20
No,
years
no,
from now, it
they
might
they
turn out
found
that
out. They found out
20
that
years from now, it
yeah,
might turn out that it gives people X-ray vision, and that'll be a great thing. Or 20 years from now, it could make everybody sterile. Nobody really, you can't know that yet.
maybe they know that it makes people sterile and they're pushing it on us so that we don't have as many kids.
Yeah, it's a very
We're
alien invasion.
yeah, we're dropping it all off in India and China, and it's all sterile, making everyone fucking sterile, making it so that there's no more tons and tons and tons of babies being created over in those areas.
Like, yeah, this is McDonald's, and it's just like it's like super McDonald's. It's like everything's 500% horrible for you, where we get the 100%.
And we
They're
call
gonna
it
go
the
sterile 5 times faster than we are.
yeah, it's called the cancer burger. You know what?
Oh,
One bite of this, and your ovaries are gonna go and get some lumps on them.
and then they're able to be like, well, do you want to stay hungry and have a shorter lifespan, or do you want to be fed and have a shorter lifespan?
I don't know. It'll be interesting, but they also have some cool inventions coming on up where they're planning on making sky farms. Have you heard about that?
I have not.
Where they're planning on making farms, and instead of making it so like because we're running out of land, and there's a X amount of finite land that you can actually develop on, that you can farm on, and it also it's prime like locations for people to live. And so instead of growing out in like these fruit plains, they're planning on making like a building down in like downtown Los Angeles and like New York, where pretty much getting fresh produce is like absolutely impossible. Instead of doing where they'll have housing, they'll just plan on making like a 80-story building that's just a farm. And so they have like the ideas of making it to like, how do you go and you fertilize the plants? Well, you have fish, and the fish poop will fertilize the farm, and then they'll eat some of the actual plants that are actually grown there. And so it's all like self-sustaining, as well as the filtration system will create fresh water. And so they're planning on like building farms that go upwards rather than like outwards. And so that's how they plan on going and doing a lot of stuff when it comes to agriculturally, to make it so that we can make use of room a lot better.
That sounds rad. And my counterpoint to that would be because I've heard this argument a lot about us running out of space, and that is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the livable space or the
I think it's
upper
called prime living space.
yeah, that might be a little more, but I've even driving to San Francisco, I've seen hundreds of thousands of acres of
Nothing.
I mean there's land out there, and before Los Angeles was what it was land, and people figured out a way to get electricity and water and then they built it. Like,
Well,
if that's the case, we could build a new super LA New York Tokyo hybrid of a desert, and we would have an effective epicenter of awesome. It's just making it happen. It's a lot of money. I bet building it 40 years ago would have been possible, but now it would cost billions, trillions of dollars, but it would still be possible.
well, that's the big problem is like fresh water. Like even Vegas. Vegas is running into an issue where like I don't know how many years, maybe about 6, 10, 15 years or something like that. In the future, what is actually supplying water to Vegas is going to run out, and there's no locations where they can get like water to Vegas anymore.
That's
And
awesome.
so it's like the time right now where we're enjoying Vegas and things like that. It's like who knows? Maybe by the time our kids are old enough to try to go and actually access and go to Vegas, it won't be Vegas anymore because Vegas will have dried up, and the amount like to get water there would just be so expensive unless they figure
Yeah,
out a way. Like there's a lot of different places in the world where we just kind of take it for granted where they get water from other locations. Like yeah, that's not gonna be happening all the time.
the revenue from Vegas must be sick. I'm sure that they'll figure out a way. They'll sky farm that shit. They'll buy Disney's weather machine and use it. Like,
Yeah, it's pretty much here. We're gonna make a huge, giant tract of land, all sky, all the way up for fresh water, because we are running out of fucking resources. And it's like, I think there's a couple cities like that. They're gonna be just like, there's just not gonna be any water, like being able to go to them anymore. Their
wow.
natural reservoirs are just going out. Because I think right now
And
we get all of our water from Northern California, and
what if they made like a mountain, like a high efficiency mountain out of some material of awesome. And I'm being very specific. And the elevation and the location and the substance that it's made out of would be able to be like maximized for creation of like condensation and snow and whatnot, and the runoff would all gather crazy efficiently. So they build this thing that's crazy complex, and then it indefinitely supplies fresh water. But it's like huge. It's huge. It's like
so
seven. It's like
it's
37 Matterhorns.
why would you say it's like out of the stratosphere? 37 Matterhorns is much better. So it's like
37 Matterhorns. Yeah.
it's the height of Everest, but it's just dedicated to taking that height and just pretty much pulling in fresh water. Like at the very tip of it, it trickles on down to the all the way on down to provide fresh water at all
Maybe
times.
even like half of Everest, but they would figure out the materials and the angles and the densities and whatever they need to figure out to maximize. Like we put this here, and all these other panels tilt this way, and it's made out of this, and it's covered with this, and it just collects condensation. It makes like a river that goes down along all of these materials, and they're all easily maintainable or something like that.
I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
that'd
We
be
have to
cool.
figure something out because our style of living is not going to be the same in the future. It's gonna be interesting to see how that stuff kind of progresses. Either we'll
Vegas is
have some
probably sorry,
what?
Vegas is probably one of the most profitable cities in the world. So if anybody can dedicate that money to making sure that that crazy profitable thing still exists, I would imagine that it's there.
I don't know. All those people are so fucking stingy. I mean, by now you would have expected them to actually make a bullet train that goes all the way from here to Vegas, and
I
they
would
haven't done that
imagine,
yet.
yeah, and there was a lot of investors in that, and I actually heard someone on the radio say something like if they really wanted it, then like I was saying about the crazy awesome mountain that creates fresh water, they could just pull their money and just do it. I'm sure that that collectively the hotels would be able to cough up enough money to make it happen just on their own financial merits. And
Yeah, like even if you
it,
had to drive to Barstow just to freaking take that, I mean, that would have. You have so many damn people that are just willing to drive to Barstow and have a huge giant parking lot to park their cars and just fucking go in with that. I don't know. There's tons of different things that they could have done that they just haven't done yet because they're like, well, people will come anyways. We already have plenty of people. It's not a big deal.
yeah, well, I'm looking forward to the future, and we'll see what that has in store for us. I have more on this list that we can cover next time. It is 10 o'clock.
Oh no, it's that time. I gotta go pick up the people at the airports.
Yep,
I don't want to
you
do
gotta
it.
peace out.
I
You
don't
gotta
want to
peace
do it.
out, bro.
Okay, all right.
So,
So thank you to all of our listeners. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope the fact that we're sitting in a room staring at each other in the awesome podcast studio that we created doesn't bother you, and that you listen next time because hopefully next time will be a good 2 hours rather than just a short little hour.
hells yeah, good having you hear from us.
And yeah, send us some commentary so that we can talk about it and we can talk shit about you. So, anyways, enjoy and talk to you guys later.
All right.